Hey y'all, good evening. Sorry I'm late. I had to fry chicken real quick and it made me I only had like about 35 minutes to do it in 40, maybe 40 minutes. Anyways, I just got it done. Anyways, let's see who's in here. Jack's mom, good evening. How are you doing, sweetie? My gosh, I gotta get a drink of my Coke. I have not felt good today, y'all. Um, I was supposed to went live at like 10 after 8, and I was like, I'm going to change it till 9 till at least it's dark outside. I took a bath. I don't have a stitch of makeup on, and I got my pajamas on, but we're going to read some ghost stories from Texas. Uh-oh, hold on a minute. I got to find my stuff. The first one is called A Kiss Before Dying. It's about a girl named what's her name? Betty Williams. I better wait till people get in here, though. I hate these member streams because you can't see if anybody's in here or not. It shows zero. And that's all right. We'll read ghost stories, Jack's mom. They can watch the replay. I'm going to screen share. Let me get it set up here. Ooh, I seen that second part of the interview with Hunter and the Summer Wells case is up. I guess we'll listen to that tomorrow. Okay, so this is by Texas Monthly. I'm just going to go ahead and get started because I don't got a lot of time tonight. It says Betty Williams was a fast girl from the wrong side of the tracks. Mac Herring was a handsome football player with all the right friends. When he broke up with her during her senior year at Odessa High School, her world fell apart, but she asked him for one last favor, to kill her. Wow. A kiss before dying. When football season ended and there was nothing much to do on Friday nights except drink beer and stare up at the wide open sky, teenagers used to park their pickups across the street from Odessa High School and wait to see the ghost they called Betty. According to the legend, she would appear at the windows of the school auditorium at midnight, provided that students flashed their headlights 3 times or honked their horn and called out her name. The real Betty, it was said, had attended Odessa High School decades before and had acted in a number of plays on the auditorium stage. But the facts of her death have been muddled with time, and each story has a apocryphal something as the last. She had fallen off a ladder in the auditorium and broke her neck, students said. She had hanged herself in the theater. Her boyfriend, who was a varsity football player, had shot her on stage during a play. So many teenagers made the late night pilgrims to see Betty that the high school deemed it prudent to paint over the windows of the school auditorium. During a later renovation, its facade was covered with bricks, but the story about Betty never went away. Students still talked of a presence in the auditorium, one that is to blame for a long list of strange occurrences, from flickering lights and noises that cannot be explained to objects that appear to move on their own. Some claim to have seen her pacing the balcony or heard her footsteps behind them, only to find no one there. Rumors have flourished that a coach who knew the real Betty is visited by her on occasion in the field house, and that a former vice principal who once caught a glimpse of her after hours was so spooked by the encounter that he refused to be in the school again by himself. I hear her name on a daily basis, says theater arts teacher Carol Moore, who was taught at Odessa High School for 4 years. Whenever something unexplained happens, a book falls on the floor in my classroom, or the light board goes out during a technical rehearsal, someone always jokes, "It's Betty." What may be nothing more than just a ghost story can also be seen as something more complicated, as a metaphor, perhaps, for for the way that one crime has lodged uneasily in Odessa's collective memory. The teenagers who passed down the stories about Betty are too young to remember the kiss and kill murder, as it was christened by the press in 1961. But it was one of the most sensational crimes in West Texas in its day. The notoriety of the case has long since faded, yet 45 years later, something lingers. When Ronnie White, who graduated from Odessa High School the year that the murder took place, returned to his alma mater to teach history in 1978, he was astonished to hear students talking about the former drama student named Betty, whose spirit supposedly haunted the auditorium, and the popular football player who had a hand in killing her. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, he says. I thought, good Lord, they must be talking about Betty Williams. September 23rd, 1960, study hall. Well, I finally made the rank of senior, and I could hardly believe it. I really don't feel much different. We get our senior rings Wednesday. I'll be glad. It sure does feel funny to be on the top of everything looking down. Seems strange to think that this is really all of high school next year. We had our pictures made last week. If they turn out halfway decent, I'll send you one. Send me another picture if you have it. Well, the bell is about to ring, so I'll write more later. Love, Betty. What most people remember about Betty Williams is that they hardly noticed her at all. She lived in a small town, well-worn frame house on an unpaved street not far from the oil fields west of town, where the gas flares burned and drilling rigs' light illuminated the desert at night. Her father, John, was a carpenter who had difficulty finding steady work. Her mother, Mary, had taken a job at J.C. Penney to help make ends meet. A strict Baptist, her father often preached to Betty about sin and eternal damnation, and on more than one Sunday morning, he prayed that she might learn to be a more obedient daughter. At 17, Betty was pretty in an unremarkable way, with sandy blonde hair that brushed her shoulders and big, expressive blue eyes that could feign sincerity when talking to authority figures, but were alive with irreverence or something. Betty disdained conformity and reserved particular contempt for the girls with matching sweater sets and saddle shoes who seemed to look right through her. She fancied herself an intellectual and put down her opinions on everything from boys to religion in dozens of letters and notes that passed in study hall. She read Jack Kerouac or something on the road in the poetry of Allen Ginsberg. And she listens to records of Lenny Bruce's stand-up routines in which he railed against racism, shrewd middle-class hypocrisy. She too liked to get a rise out of people, and she thrived on attention, whether she got it by arriving at Tommy's drive-in dressed entirely in black but wearing white lipstick, or in jeans and a t-shirt under which she didn't bother to put on a bra. She freely expressed opinions that went against the grain, like her belief that segregation was unjust and that blacks should not have to attend a separate high school across the railroad tracks. In bedrock conservative blue-collar Odessa, where the John Birch Society crusades against communism and other un-American influences had struck a chord. She was seen as an oddball. Most people do not understand me, Betty wrote to a friend her senior year. There are people willing to be my friends, but mostly they are either too ignorant to understand why I'm like I am, and consequently offer my mind no challenge, or they haven't the wits to match mine. Boy, she was a firecracker. Um, let's see, at the top of Odessa's high school Rigged Social Heresy or something, were the Kashmir girls, as one alumni called them. The girls with perfect complexions from West Odessa's better neighborhoods, who were voted most popular, best personality, class favorite. At football games, they sat in the stands wearing the ultimate status symbol, their boyfriends' Letterman jackets. They belonged to the informal sororities called high wire something clubs, Caprice, I don't know what it is, which cherry picked the most. She was in a damn sorority, which cherry picked the most popular high school girls. Betty was hardly sorority material. In high school pecking order, her classmates remember her as a nobody and someone on the outside looking in. Well, that's mean. But while she struck and something posed, the rejection she felt from the other girls still stung. Betty wanted to be liked, says her first cousin, Shelton Williams, whose memoir, Washed in Blood, chronicles his coming of age in Odessa through the prism of Betty's murder. She wanted what we all want, to be totally unique while being completely accepted. In a place where fun on Saturday night. Okay. Okay, hold on a minute now. I lost my place. In a place where fun on Saturday night might mean deciding to only take right turns while cruising around town, Betty dreamed of her escape. She hoped to one day become an actress, and in her bedroom, where movie posters and playbills covered the wall, she devoured magazines like the Hollywood Scandal Sheet, uh, Confidential. She loved the thrill of the spotlight. It was gifted enough that she landed parts in 3 school plays when she was just a sophomore. I didn't know this was so long. During her junior year, when the speech team performed the balcony scene from Romeo and Juliet at the university interscholastic league competition, I can't say that, Betty played the doomed lovesick heroine. But as desperately as she wanted to propel herself out of Odessa, she was fatalistic about the future. The oldest of 4 children, she knew that her parents could not afford to send her away to college, and her part-time job at Woolworth barely paid enough to finance any kind of getaway. While she aspired to one day appear on the Broadway stage, in the meantime, she planned to live at home after graduation and attend Odessa College just up the street. Some nights, Betty would slip out the back door after her parents had gone to bed and walk 4 blocks to Tommy's Drive-In, where there was always boys to talk to. Plenty of girls were flirts, but few of them were as assertive as Betty. She made no secret of the fact that she was not prude and that she was willing to prove it. At the end of the evening at Tommy's, it was not unusual for her to end up parked in a secluded spot somewhere with a football player, after, of course, he had taken his girlfriend home to meet her curfew. While boys were free to do as they pleased, good girls were expected to obey an unspoken code of conduct. If a girl had a steady boyfriend, then she could have sex as long as she didn't advertise it, says Jean Smith Kiker, a Capri who was a year below Betty. But if she did it with someone who wasn't her boyfriend, then she was a hoe, y'all. Betty chose to disregard the rules, and if she had earned herself a reputation, she hardly seemed to care. Eisenhower had been president during most of our years of growing up. Kids were kept on a very short leash, remembers classmate Dixon Bowles. You got the feeling with Betty that she was always straining against the leash, even when it choked her, maybe especially when it choked her. Okay, let's read the letter and then we're going to read what happened to her. Mac, well, I guess you accomplished what you set out to do. You hurt me more than you'll ever know. When you handed me that note this morning, you virtually changed the course of my life. I don't know what I expected the note to say, but not that. I'll not waste time saying that I didn't care. I'll not waste time saying that I didn't deserve it because I guess I did. I've never been so hurt in my life. I guess your note was the jolt I needed to get me back on the straight and narrow. I've done a lot of things I know that were bad and cheap, but I swear before God that I didn't mean them to be like that. I was just showing off. I know it's much too late with you, Mac, but I swear that other boy won't get the chance to say what you said to me. You've made me realize that instead of being smart and sophisticated like I thought, I was only being cheap, ugly, and whorish. Forgive me for writing this last note, and I thank you for reading it. I'll not trouble you again. And Mac, I haven't forgot the good times we had. I really have enjoyed knowing you, and I'm awfully sorry that it had to end this way. Best of luck with your steady girlfriend. I hope she's the best. Betty. P.S. When you think of me, try to think of good times we had and not of this. Blast of a shotgun kills Odessa girl. Boy, she was pretty, wasn't she? Okay. Mac Herring was not one of the elite football players at Odessa High School. I don't want to read all about him. I want to read what he done. I might as well read it. Okay. Although Mac was near the top of the high school cat system and Betty was on the bottom, they managed to strike up a friendship when she was a junior and he was a sophomore. Betty thought she sensed in him a kindred spirit. He seemed more sensitive than the other boys she knew, and she thought there was something lonely and romantic about him. In the summer of 1960, they started dating. Betty wondered if she might be falling in love with Mac, she told friends. Uh, she told friends he really listened to her, but Mac was careful to be discreet about the time they spent together. He never took Betty to his neighbor Carol McCutcheon's house, where the in crowd gathered for dance parties and rounds of spin the bottle. He never gave her his leather jacket or brought her home to meet his parents. Seems like to me he was keeping old Betty as a side piece. Perhaps because he had wounded her pride or maybe just to make him jealous, Betty tried to even the score one night when she parked with one of his best friends, a popular football player who had been voted the most handsome in the class. The stunt soured Mac on the relationship, and by the fall, he had broken off things and started going steady with a pretty redhead. I've never been so humiliated and torn to pieces as I am now, Betty wrote to a friend. I feel so lonely and deserted. I don't care what happens now or ever. This is pure hell. Betty was crushed to discover that fall that Odessa High School's new drama teacher did not see much promise in her and had regulated her to the role of stage manager for the spring production of Maxwell Anderson's Winterset, a gloomy 1935 play based loosely on the Sacco Vanzetti case, where she learned that Mac would be playing one of the Winterset's lead roles, a remorseless killer named Troc Estrella. Still reeling from their breakup and depressed at the prospect of not being cast in a single play her senior year, Betty began to feel hopeless. Mac was the one, and without him, life wasn't worth living. She said she wanted to die if she couldn't be with Mac, remembers her cousin Shelton, who was a year her junior at Odessa's Permina High School. She told me I have to get him back. Her mood turned darker after her father rummaged through her dresser drawers looking for evidence of her disobedience. Distraught, Betty confided in a friend that he had found her diary in which she had detailed her experiences with boys. Though she had pleaded with her father to believe her when she swore to him that she had changed, he was not convinced. Betty said that the situation at home was bad, says the friend who asked not to be named. I wanted to help, but I didn't know what to do. I was 16 years old. By the winter, Betty had started telling friends that she would be better off dead. Heaven must be a nice place, she told Junior Howard Sellers. She claimed to have half-heartedly tried to kill herself by taking 4 aspirins. She boasted of climbing up to the auditorium rafters, intending to throw herself onto the stage below, only to find that she lacked the courage. Betty, who had always enjoyed being outrageous, talked about wanting to die to whoever would listen. But the only reaction she was able to provoke was a few eye rolls. The response was always the same. There goes Betty again, trying to be the center of attention. Even when she began acting more erratically through rehearsals at Winterset, her peers wrote off her overwrought confessions about wanting to die as nothing more than a theater girl's high school histrionics, however you say it. She informed at least 5 students working on the play that she wanted to kill herself but didn't have the nerve. Would they be willing to do it for her, she asked. No, I don't think I will, Senior Mike Warr said, passing off as a joke. A sophomore, Jim Mercer, also deflected the invitation. I charge for my services, he kidded, quoting her an impossibly high price. At the time, Betty felt marginalized by those around her and forsaken by the one boy she loved. Death seemed to hold its own allure. Or was she just acting, pushing the boundaries into another bid to catch Mac's attention? One night, he gave her and Howard a ride home from rehearsal, and she made the request to him. Would he be willing to kill her? She would hold the gun to her head, she said, while he pulled the trigger. Mac laughed at the absurdity of the idea, and Betty laughed with him. She even went so far as to write out a wildly melodramatic note clearing him of culpability were he to be apprehended for her murder. A note that Howard would later say had seemed like a joke. But the next afternoon, during rehearsal, Betty pulled Mac into the prop room backstage. She was miserable, she told him. She wanted to die. It was the week before Winterset was scheduled to premiere. Students were busy running their lines, painting the set as they readied for the final dress rehearsal. In the middle of the chaos, Betty spotted Mike. It's been nice knowing you, she said. What do you mean, he asked. I finally talked Mike into killing me, she said. Mike shrugged. I'll send roses. I'm consumed with this burning emptiness and loneliness that has taken charge of me, body, and soul. I have to fight it. If I am to live, I have to fight, or else it will pull me down, down, down into the thankless pit of fear, pain, and agonized loneliness. 2 days later, March 22nd, 1961. The Odessa Police Department received a frantic call from Mary Williams, who reported that her daughter was missing. One by one, Betty's friends were called into the principal's office. They were asked to tell what they knew. Ike Knell, a popular junior who had taken Betty home from rehearsal the previous evening, recounted a story that interested investigators. When he had dropped Betty off at 10 o'clock, he said, she had suggested that he return in half an hour and meet her in the alley behind her house. As promised, at 10:30, Betty had snuck out the back door, slipped into his car. The 2 teenagers had parked in the alley for a while, but they had been startled to see headlights coming towards them. Betty immediately recognized the approaching car as Mac's. Oh my God, I didn't think he'd come, she explained. Ike had been certain Betty was joking when she had remarked earlier in the evening that Mac had promised to kill her. So certain that he did not try to stop her when she climbed into Mac's Jeep. As she turned to go, she said to Ike, I've got to call his bluff, even if he kills me. Odessa's police youth officer Bobby McAlpine sat Mac down to answer a few questions. The football player told a plausible enough story. He had dropped Betty off outside her parents' house at midnight and had not seen her since. But inconsistencies in his account led McAlpine to believe that the 17-year-old knew more than he was letting on. Had he left Betty at the front door or the back? McAlpine inquired. The front door, Mac answered. And no, he hadn't waited to see that she'd gotten inside safely. His answer struck McAlpine as peculiar. The officer knew that Betty had been dressed for bed when she had slipped out of the house that night. According to Ike, she had been wearing only pale pink shorty pajamas, blue and white striped duster. Not the kind of clothes a boy would leave a girl standing in on her front porch at midnight. McAlpine also felt sure that Betty would not have wanted to sneak back into the house through the front door. Mac was brought down to the police station for further questioning, and 45 minutes later he broke down. Betty had begged him to kill her, he told McAlpine. All he had done was carry out her wishes. He claimed to have committed the crime with a 12-gauge shotgun that Betty herself had picked out. Mack led officers to his father's hunting lease, 26 miles northwest of town, on a lonely piece of scrubland studded with pump jacks. They turned off the highway onto a winding dirt road and continued until Mack directed them to stop. He showed them where his and Betty's footprints, his large, her small, led down a steep incline to a stock tank. Beside the water, the ground was splattered with blood. In a flat monotone, Mack told investigators that he had shot Betty next to the stock tank, weighed her down, and submerged her body. Unsure of the exact location of the body in the tank, officers asked Mack if he would retrieve it. He stripped off his red and white varsity leather jacket, sports shirt, loafers, blue jeans, and socks, waded into the water until it came to his chest. The assembled group of lawmen fell silent when he reached the center. Mack oriented himself by looking at the mesquite trees on either side. Then he dove under an object that appeared to be very heavy. When he was near the water's edge, Odessa Police Detective Fred Johnson could see he was holding a pair of human feet. Johnson advised him to leave the body, which was still clad in pale pink pajamas, in the water. Around Betty's waist were tied 2 lead weights. She had been partially decapitated by a single gunshot blast to the head. And as the rumor goes, she still haunts Odessa High School. Wow, what a story, guys. What a story. Right here's a newspaper clipping. She was pretty. Bless her heart. She seemed like she's looking for love and attention through having sex with boys. I think we're spending quality time with you reading me ghost stories. That's right, Jack's mom. Thank you. Thank you for listening to my ghost story. You're the only one that would. I'm just kidding. Oh, girl, that was a good story. Hey, I've got a couple more. I'm going to save them for next week. That's actually, I didn't realize that was actually a true crime ghost story. I mean, of course, the ghost story is probably made up, but I mean, he actually killed her because she wanted him to. So crazy. Yeah, it is sad. It is sad. Very, very sad. Where is everyone? I know nobody showed up tonight. I don't know where everyone's at. I did change the time because, like I said, I have not been feeling good. My legs are aching off. So I made it an hour later. Maybe that's what the deal is. It's all right though. It's all right. I read you a ghost story. At least one person showed up. This is the problem when you do these member streams and only the channel members can see them and they're not public. People have a hard time finding them, even though I posted in the community thing. People forget to go look there. I know I do myself. And I don't think it notifies everybody. But anyways. Hey, Jack's mom, I'm going to give you a wrench. I'm going to give you a wrench because you was the only one that come in here and listen to my damn ghost story. There you go. Make you a moderator. Okay, girl. Well, thanks for listening to my story. I'm going to get off here. Maybe next week. See, if we do it on Wednesday nights, people show up. Everybody's used to me doing it on Wednesdays. Next week, we'll read some more ghost stories. Anyways, I'm going to get off here and go lay on the heating pad. Oh, you're welcome. Now you're lit up in blue instead of green. Hey, thank you for coming and listening. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Sweet dreams. Be safe, be kind, and peace.